Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're taking a look at Signals Crossed. So this was the last Thomas & Friends DVD release of 2014, being released digitally on November 11, 2014, and then was put out onto DVD on December 2nd. I think I mentioned this before, but I really don't like it when they put the Christmas releases out in October and then put the normal releases out in December. If they just swapped those dates, I think they'd be a lot better, but oh well, I don't work at Lionsgate or Universal, but yeah. That's all for that stuff. So let's take a look at the actual release. So I haven't filmed an episode of the series since probably early December, so if I say what I'm supposed to say, I apologize, but it's been a really long time because I've been filming for Turbo 711 for a while. But anyways, up there, oh sorry, my tripod's kind of in the way. Up there we got the Thomas logo, Signals Crossed, really cool logo. We got Thomas and Toby outside Knapford Junction with some signals on the gantry up there. This is a really, really cool poster. I think it's awesome. I do also believe that this was the last Thomas and Friends release, or like the latest Thomas and Friends release put out onto Netflix back in the day. I do remember this being on there, but I don't remember what comes next. Oh yeah, this is the last one, because I don't remember Dinos and Discoveries or like The Adventure Begins, so this is the last one, so it's a bit monumental there, but yeah. We also had down there mix-ups and slip-ups on the railway. That was not good. Let's fix that. Sorry, everybody. Didn't mean to hurt you. Okay. So on the side there, we got Hit Entertainment logo, Thomas logo, Signals Crossed, Thomas DVD, Universal. Pretty standard. On the back here, we got a dude up there on the signal waving a yellow flag. We got Thomas and Timothy. There's your description right there. Bonus features. I love this little like tab. It looks very like construction-y. That's kind of cool. So we have roll call song, sing-along music video, searching everywhere sing-along music video, and guess who puzzles. So very, very standard. And there's all your stuff down there. If we open it up, here is the disc. Come on. There we go. Pretty standard. I believe I got this new, but I think I got this for my 17th birthday? I think, yeah. Pretty sure that was around a year ago or so, but yeah. What episodes do we have on here? We have Signals Crossed, Marion and the Pipe, Duncan and the Grumpy Passenger, No Steam Without Coal, and Thomas and the Emergency Cable. And then on UK, Australian, and what's NL? Dutch? Oh, Dutch. Yeah, that's Netherlands, of course. You also got Spencer's VIP and Toad's Bright Idea. I wish they were included on this release, but it doesn't matter. But don't worry, I have a plan for those episodes. Alrighty, so let's go through them here. Signals Crossed. I hate to do this, but we're starting off with a very, very bad episode. In terms of everything, it's just bad. Toby is extremely out of character. While he is more used to the calmer part of Sodor, I don't think he'd be this scared to go through the junction. I mentioned in Trouble in the Tracks a couple weeks ago that the animation got a lot better in Season 18. But that's kind of a lie because it's really bad in this episode. Especially like the train consists. They're so bland, so copy and paste. They're so... I really hate the nitrogen era of Thomas, but one of the positives I can say about that is that the train consists, especially like later on in like season 15, 16, got really, really cool. You saw a lot of like unique coaches and trucks and tankers and such. But here, nope. We get to see those red coaches. We get to see, I think, some male coaches at some point. And those pink trucks and maybe some of those black tankers. But that's it. Nothing cool at all. Engines like Emily and Spencer are pulling those red coaches, even when it's been established that they have their own coaches. So it's a bit strange. There's even a shot where you see Spencer pulling some red coaches and a Green Express coach. What the F? That doesn't make any sense at all. That just looks so strange. And also, trains come out of literally nowhere. There's a scene where Toby almost runs into Gordon, who is going straight, But a few shots later, you can see that the track he was on ends in buffers. So where did he come from? Are those the magic buffers? I don't know. There are also plenty of trains without brake fans, like the Miller era, so that really sucks. And the worst part about this episode, Ferdinand appears. Toby is booking it through the junction, and for a split second, you can see Ferdinand pulling some logs. This is bad. I'm just kidding. It's not a big deal. At least we don't get to see his face or anything, but it's literally like a blink and you'll miss it moment. But yeah, it's not very good or anything. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I will say one of the few good things about this episode is that they did do a very good job at making Knapford Junction seem very like busy and chaotic, but to the keen eye, the goofs and the animation and such are just extremely jarring and take you out of the episode. Now, the only really good thing about this episode is Henrietta. She's very good at bouncing off of Toby and always gives him some good advice. And I do enjoy like her voice and such. But yeah, Henrietta is a very good addition to the season 18 crew, like the new crew for this season. And yeah, she's not really a returning character, but I guess she's one of the better like new characters, I suppose. But yeah, other than that, not a fan of this episode at all. It's very skippable. I don't know why they chose this to be the one to name the DVD after. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. It's really, really bad. I should also mention the Mr. Perkins segments. So we have Calling All Engines, we have Duck and James, we have Mr. Perkins' Story Time, where he reads Thomas Goes Fishing. We have the Earl's Quiz. He talks about Emily Saves the World and Express coming through. And then we also have Mr. Perkins' Postcard, where he talks about the bridges of Sodor, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, Marion and the Pipe. It's a very fun episode. I do enjoy this one. The humor, strangely, is really on point. I love how Percy is just trying to creep quietly past Marion, and then she stops him. That's very, very funny. I also adore how Marion almost crushes Gordon's face with her bucket, and then she doesn't even apologize. She's like, Gordon, have I ever told you about the time I blah, 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 blah? That's so funny to me. It's absolutely hilarious. This is just about Marion's character in general. But I really like Olivia Colman's portrayal as Marion. She was really like the first celebrity that we had since like Alec Baldwin, which is kind of interesting, but I do enjoy when they bring like big name actors and actresses into Thomas. It brings a lot more attention to the series, and this is the right era to do it because they were very good written stories, or very well written stories. The climax is also very enjoyable. While I do think Thomas could have been swapped out for any other character, like Stanley even, I do like how he was more like a strict authority figure, which is pretty rare for Thomas. So overall, a very enjoyable episode. It's not anything special, but it's fun. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Okay, so this next episode I'm going to gush about because this is probably one of the best episodes of the entire series. Duncan and the Grumpy Passenger is fan-freaking-tastic. One of the best written episodes of the entire series. It feels like it was plucked right out of a Wilbur Audrey book. It's one of those stories that appeals to everybody. In fact, I'd say it's more targeted at adults than anything. Duncan is an absolutely wonderful character. He's probably one of the most relatable characters to us older fans, especially me. He's just so done with everything, and I really respect that. His voice is also spot on. He sounds exactly like George Carlin's voice, and I really appreciate that. I also really enjoy how expressive his face is. He has such a wide range of unique expressions, which is a stark contrast to a lot of other like main characters who just have very static and overused expressions. Now, the only thing that I'm not a huge fan about Duncan in the CGI series is his render. It's really, really bad. I really hate how thin and small his boiler is, and I really don't like how his running board is all red. It makes him feel like a take-along toy or something, or I should say take-and-play, not take-along. Take-along is good. Yeah, anyways, I do really, really enjoy how we have like a engine-human dynamic. In fact, the humans in general get a lot of focus in this episode, and they feel very realistic. They make the railway feel like an actual, like, real railway, which is very classic feeling to me. And the grumpy passenger has so much character to him. He oddly kind of feels like a Karen, and Duncan feels like a retail worker just trying to do his job. That's a very good parallel to draw. Yeah, one of the best and most realistic dynamics in the entire show. Also, a little minor thing, I love how Duncan interacted with all of the classic Skarloey Railway characters in this episode. Barring Sir Handel, which is a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. This is also one of those rare episodes where Thomas doesn't appear at all, which is a blessing. This also happens in another episode later on, which we will get to, excuse me. In fact, the only standard gauge engine we see is James, and he's only in the background. So everything in this episode is amazing, but there are still parts of the animation that I'm not really a big fan of. For example, in that scene with James going through the station, he's pulling narrow gauge coaches, which is very jarring because they're very low down compared to him. And the entirety of Croven's Gate is honestly terrible. It's probably one of the worst set pieces in the entire show. From the narrow gauge side, it's not that bad. It looks pretty similar to season 4, but or barring the terrible recreations of the sheds, but the standard gauge side, the standard gauge side sucks mad butt. You can't really see it that much in this episode, but if you watch Emily Saves the World, you'll see how pathetic it looks. When you watch Bold Out, you see that the station is giant with this huge glass canopy going over the standard gauge rails, but in CGI, there's this tiny little glass roof over one building that doesn't even cover the tracks. I don't know who made this render, but it looks so ugly. I don't understand how they could totally redesign Knapford Junction for Signals Crossed, but they couldn't render one of the most, I don't know if it's recognizable, but one of the most unique stations. Other than the animation slip-ups, I love this episode so much. The moral is great, characters are great, humor is great, and the writing is top-notch. 9.5 out of 10. It's pretty close to a perfect episode. Alright, No Steam Without Coal, another really, really great episode. I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but Bill and Ben, along with like Toad and Duncan, are probably the most in-line returning characters with their old personalities. Their banter with Timothy is really great. Although I do wish Boko was here instead. I really enjoy Timothy. He's a bit more of a pushover and pretty gullible, which helps differentiate him from Boko, which is pretty cool to the younger kids that like both the model series and the CGI series. I also really enjoy the comedy in this episode as well. I love the scene where Ben and Timothy almost crash and Ben goes, nah, 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 nah. It's very childish, but we were severely lacking comedy like that in Thomas for a really, really long time. Again, like I mentioned in Duncan and the Grumpy Passenger, this is another episode where Thomas doesn't appear at all, which I really, really like. So yeah, very, very fun and engaging story with a great cast. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very good story. And then the last one, Thomas and the Emergency Cable. Another pretty fun episode, like the Duncan one. It felt very Wilbur Audrey Railway series. Kind of like it came from like the Tank Engine Thomas Again era of books, if you know what I mean. If we're talking about human engine dynamics, I love the dynamic between Thomas and the Birdwatcher. The Birdwatcher is another very realistic character. I totally buy the fact that he would actually pull the cable if he heard the bird. That's something that weird people like us would do. I also like Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle's relationship here. I find it really interesting how Annie and Clarabelle kind of gossip about the people in the station. That's a nice little bit of world building. Yeah, it's a fun episode. I thought I'd have more to say about it, but it's just fun. A nice little story that felt very classic Thomas. Another 8 out of 10. So, before we give my final thoughts, I'll just reorder the episodes here. So we got Signals Crossed, Thomas and the Emergency Cable, Duncan and the Grumpy Passenger, Marion and the Pipe, and No Steam Without Coal. Wow, there's a lot of and thus stories in here. Interesting. So this release, it's pretty good. It's not anything. It's actually pretty good. I was gonna say it's not anything too special, but it really is. I think the two standout episodes in here are the Duncan episode and the Bill and Ben episode. They're very, very fun. And this release overall is quite fun if you look past the main episode, but I think most people tend to look away from Toby episodes from the CGI series. But yeah, that's really all I have to say for this episode here. This is going to be the last episode of the year, so I want to thank you all for a very, very fun 2022. Hope you enjoyed my collection video from Christmas. I had a lot of fun doing that. It's just fun to see how big my collection grows over the year, and yeah, you guys like those episodes. You guys like those videos as well, so I will see you next week. I don't know what date it'll be, but we'll be looking at Dinos and Discoveries, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks or so. So we're probably going to be done around March, maybe late February. So yeah, that's all for me today. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope you have a great new year. Hope you had a great 2022. And I will see you later. Adios. I was going to say goodbye, but I wanted to be different. Okay.